Hello. Okay, so welcome to the Turbo Your PC mini course. Thank you very much for picking it up. I'm absolutely certain that it will do your laptop or your desktop a lot of good because in this course I'm going to be showing you many things that a lot of PC owners don't know about their computer systems and that affects the lifespan, that affects the performance, and that also affects the pocket of the people who are using. I mean, if a system could spend, say, 3 4 5 years before it develops an issue, why should bad usage culture make it develop a problem in just 1.5 years or 1 year of usage and all that? So we're going to be covering quite a lot in this mini course to help you get the best, do the things that you need to do to get the best out of your computer system. All right, so in this module we're going to cover these things that these items that I've written that we're going to cover. I need to show you what Windows Disk Management is, or Disk Manager is. I'm going to show you, and so we're going to download and install Partition Wizard because that's the software we're going to use. Then I'm going to show you how to create a new disk partition, and the basic operations that you might be doing under those. Then I will also, as an extra, I'll show you how to extend the size of a partition, and I will also show you how to delete a partition. But that is something that has to be done with caution. You really have to know what you're doing. Now, to prevent this particular module video from being too long, I might break it into 2 videos. So in the first part we cover the first 3 items, and then in the second video we'll cover the last 2 items. Now, why do you want to partition a hard drive? Why should you partition a hard drive? You want to do it basically because you want to separate your personal files from Windows files. Now, by default, these are, let me show you, these are the default Windows folders: downloads, documents, you have pictures, and you have these are, and then you have videos. Now these are, by default, these are normal folders that Windows has created where you can put your stuffs. But the problem is that these files are located within the Windows drive itself, like you're keeping your files amongst of Windows. Now, why is this a problem? It becomes a problem because if something goes wrong with Windows operating system tomorrow, maybe the OS got corrupted, maybe a virus, a very serious virus, although that shouldn't even happen in this age and time. If it gets corrupted and you have to format Windows, you are going to be formatting all your personal files with the Windows, and that is data loss right there. The only alternative are basically to get a new external hard drive, which some people may not at that time have the money to buy, and first copy out all your what would I call it, all your files, all your documents, your pictures, your videos. That is assuming that the Windows corruption is not so bad that it affects the Windows running itself. If it becomes a situation where Windows cannot even start up and they have to format it, then it becomes a more tedious process. Then it means that the computer, you would have to take it to a computer engineer, and they would have to open your system and they would have to remove the hard drive, and then they would have to get another external hard drive and then move those files first into the other external hard drive before they can then format. They will have to return the hard drive back inside, close it up, and then format the hard drive and then copy your files back. That is a lot of stress. That's a lot of time. You've lost time, you've burnt some energy, and you've also spent some money. So it becomes very important to partition your system immediately you get that system. It's usually best to do it at the beginning when you don't have any files, any personal files moved into that hard drive yet on the new system. So it's best to do. Now, partitioning can also be done even after you have started moving in files. Maybe you've been using the PC for a while, which is probably going to be the situation with most people who are going to be taking this course. Now, partitioning can be done, but it can only be done to the extent that you have free space left. Now, the amount of space that you have filled is what shows up in red or blue depending on how much you have consumed. The free space is what shows in white. Now, if you can see on this system, I have almost consumed all the free space on board. So even if I want to partition, even if I say I want to partition this drive right now, how much free space can I generate? I can only generate 5.73 gigs, and probably I have gigs upon gigs upon gigs of files. Now I cannot get much by partitioning the system right now, this hard drive right now. I'm going to have to most likely get an external hard drive. But let me show you something that you're probably not seeing already. You probably don't notice that the hard drive is already partitioned. Let me show you. This is one partition. This is C drive. This is one partition. This is the second one. This is where I keep my personal files. And this is another Windows operating system that I use strictly for work. I may mention something about this later, but I have two Windows operating systems actually installed on my system. I use one for everyday normal day-to-day stuff. The second one I use it for work because I need the system to load super fast. Sometimes if I can't get it to be done any other way, then the last resort might be to do this. But we'll probably talk about this later. It is not an absolute necessity. It is not an absolute necessity for most people. It's not. So let's move away from that. So this drive is already partitioned. I've actually divided it. Now if you open this part, this way you see my files are stored, my documents, my music. I don't keep my personal files in downloads. I don't keep them in documents. Anything that I know that I cannot afford to lose, you will never find it in the default Windows folder. As soon as I download stuff or I create maybe a new file or something, I move them straight to my personal partition. You notice it is actually named after my name, Dapo. That's what is written there. So this is the benefit of partitioning. So as you create new files, or as you maybe copy files from some people, or maybe you get some things from the internet, you are moving them into your personal partition. And if you notice what I've done here, I created different folders for different purposes. So I have normally by default I usually create the folder to reflect the normal Windows folder. So I will create a folder, name it document, I'll create another one, name it pictures, create another one, name it videos, something. You can create your folders depending on whatever it is you want to do. I'm sure, of course, you're a PC user, so you know how to create a new folder. That's not within the scope of this course. All right, so once you do that, so if I get something from the internet or I download something, I'm immediately moving it away from there. Probably I'll just Control C, copy, and then I bring it to my profile. So I never keep anything. In my personal folder. I mean, in the Windows default folders. I always keep it on my second partition where I have my data, so that if anything goes wrong with Windows OS tomorrow, and I have constantly been making sure that if I download anything, I always move them from here, from the C drive, from the folders within the C drive, which is the documents, downloads, videos. You can notice I'm making a lot of repetition because I want you to understand it and I want it to sink in. So I'm repeating myself. So I move them from the Windows partition, I move them to my personal partition that I created. And then so that way I can easily format Windows. So I probably just lose maybe the software that I've installed, another which I can always easily install, and then I reinstall another Windows on that, or maybe a computer engineer does it in your own case, if you don't know how to install Windows, and that's it, and you're good. So I don't have to have to open up my system. I don't have to first copy data from one side, from one hard drive to another, and lose a lot of time and then pay an engineer to do all of that before I can format the system. If ever I'm going to visit an engineer, which I most likely will not do in my own case unless I have a hardware issue, I would only do that because I want to maybe I have a hardware problem or something. That's the only time I ever visit an engineer. In your own case, you probably only visit an engineer when you want to reinstall the Windows on it. All right, so that's that. So I've shown you the basics right there. So let's quickly go. Now let me show you. Let's start with the important part, Windows Disk Management. I do not use. If you want to find this software on your Windows, you simply you can tap the Windows key. Tap the Windows key, it's going to show you all the options. So you type disk management. All right, so it's most likely going to bring out this option, create and format hard disk and all that, control panel. If this is what you see, just tap it I already have it open, so it's most likely not going to open in the second instance, and if it does, fine, no problems. Okay, so now I don't use the Windows Disk Management. This is an inbuilt software that you can use to partition your system, but I don't use it. I don't use it because it has one major limitation. It's by default sets how much you can how much free space you can create out of a particular partition. That's what in this case we call it the shrink volume. So it tells you, okay, you cannot shrink this partition beyond this particular point where you have maybe some unmovable files or something like that. So that means that whatever it gives you is what you can partition. Now, of course, you might still be able to, it will just show you, okay, this is the amount of space that is possible. Even if you have more free space, even if you have more free space. So I just prefer not to use it, and I just simply go, so I don't use Windows. I just wanted to show you so you know it exists. But that's the major limitation that it has. It exists, and it has some other limitations that I'm not going to talk about because it's not. So what I will simply do, I use Minitools Partition Wizard. Minitools Partition Wizard is what we're going to use, and then let's go straight to my browser. Okay, so I already typed it out. Partition Wizard download. This is what you don't need to remember the website. Just type the name, and then you go to the website, minitoolspartitionwizard.com. So occasionally I might pause this video if I notice that maybe something is taking too long to load, to save time and to cut out unnecessary fluff. All right, so okay, so let's, while we're waiting for that to load, let me just post it. All right, so it's fully loaded. So this is the website of Partition Wizard, and all you need to do is come to this place where you have download Partition Wizard. Look at the right hand side of the screen, and then come to free download. We don't need the paid version, just download the free one. A new page is going to open, and then yeah, so it's going to click here to install. It's going to start downloading by default. It's going to start downloading by default. Okay, so my download manager grabbed it, but anyways, let's go to the download folder and install it. So before, Partition Wizard used to give us the full download, the full software, the offline installer, but now they've stopped that. So you have to, so what they are basically giving you here is the installer that would then connect to the internet and then install the software for you. Okay, so let's quickly install that. All right, needs to uninstall the previous version. Okay, yeah, I have a previous version, so it's going to uninstall that. And while it's doing that, okay, that was fast. Partition Wizard free. Now be careful, don't install anything you don't need. Minitools Shadow Maker free. We don't need this right now, so no, we're not going to take it. Participate the customer, yeah, I can do that just to help them improve what they are creating. All right, so you can see it's going to, oh wow, okay, okay, so it started downloading and it's going to install that. So of course I do not assume that you would have the old version in your system because you probably don't even know about the software. So it's going to download and then we're going to install it. Okay, so while it's installing, I'm going to pause again to save unnecessary time consumption and then come back when it's done. All right, so now it has finished installing, and then you just click on launch mini to Partition Wizard. Let me close this and finish. So it's going to launch the software, and then we can begin the process. Okay, so it's open now. I'm going to just show you some of the features that we have business with, and then I will stop this video here, and then we will go to the main operation in the next video. I don't want each video to be too long, so you don't have too much to consume at the same time. Now, this is the interface of the Partition Wizard. It's not everything here that you have business with, as much as is possible, because you are a beginner. Now, you see system reserved, you should not touch it for any reason. Now, the C drive, for most people who don't have their systems already partitioned, you are most likely just going to see system reserved, maybe a couple of system reserved partitions, and then you're going to see the C drive. In my own case, because I already have the system partitioned, I have the hard drive partitioned, so you can see Windows for work, and you can see the other my personal partition where I keep my files. Now, the basic operations that we would do here that I would show you are how to resize an existing partition. So in your case, you're going to have your C drive with you know, the amount of space that it has consumed and the amount of free space that you have left. So I'm assuming that in your case, you want to partition, it's your C drive you want to partition, because that's what you basically have. So what you want to do is you want to, out of the free space that you have on your C drive, you want to create a new partition. And so the first step that we are going to take to do that, before you can create a new partition, you have to resize an existing partition, which is your C drive in this case, and then you create a new partition, and I'm going to show you that in the next video. There's a likelihood some people may have maybe one other partition that says maybe recovery or something. See, the recovery partition, the system reserved partition, you have no business with them. You don't want to mess up your data, so please do not touch those partitions for any reason. The only partition that you have a business with is the C drive partition, and it must have a lot of space. It means that for you to successfully create a sizable partition out of an existing partition, there must be enough free space. In my own case, I do not have a lot of free space here right now, so I am going to show you how to create a partition out of my second partition, and that's what we're going to do in the next video. So in your own case, I am assuming that your C drive, which has not been partitioned, still has a lot of free space that you want to create a partition out of. If it happens that you have consumed so much space and you don't have a lot of free space left, then in your own case you have to get an external hard drive to move your files out of your current system into the external hard drive before you try partitioning. If you try to partition a hard drive that has a lot of files on it already and you don't have a lot of free space, you're just going to have a very small partition. That's one. Then secondly, you are not to go through this process without your system being fully charged. If you have a system that is probably a television, meaning that your battery is bad and your system is not fully charged, because you need time, you need your battery to be on full power before you attempt a partitioning process. Okay, so that's what we are going to cover. We're going to stop in this video, and I'll see you in the next video. All right.